Welcome to Amplifying Leadership, a podcast where we talk leadership and all that goes with it, with guest stories, wins, and even some challenges. My name is Tara Lehman, and I am a partner, coach, and consultant at Twin Lake Coaching and Business Services, of which Amplifying Leadership is a division. For our leadership clients, we'd love to support you through this podcast with tools, coaching, training, and more as part of all our leadership services. To find out more about our Amplifying Leadership division, please visit amplifyingleadership.ca. Today, I am welcoming Josh Gwinn, CEO of Optimized Practice Services, which is in the dental and orthodontics healthcare industry. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tara. Great to be here. Appreciate you.
Yes. Thank you. So I always like to start with getting to know you a little bit better and your leadership story. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that today?
Yeah, I guess to start kind of at the beginning, I grew up in a small town in Arkansas, a series of small towns in Arkansas. Single mom, brothers, sisters, the whole thing, and really got into my teenage years, was working on a farm for a long time. Also worked at like the local Subway sandwich shop, and realized there just wasn't a big future in that town. Also just in that, that route. Thought about college. Financially, that wasn't a great choice for me at the time. So I ended up joining the U.S. Navy, straight into the Navy. Just kind of, it's literally sink or swim. You figure out, if you're going to be a leader or a follower, but you have to be one or the other. They don't really give you a choice. We kind of joke with my kids about it now. It's like, you guys have so many options, so many choices. That wasn't the same thing when I was growing up. So did that, came out and went directly really into healthcare. I spent, a couple of years in the music industry in retail, and that's where I learned P&L responsibility and human resources, et cetera. And then moved down to Mobile, Alabama, and started a manager training program in a healthcare company. And really, that's where it all started. I always tell folks I started kind of as a vision tech, puffing the air in your eyes, and did that for a few weeks, literally. And then they moved me into a manager program, and we started to, started to move from there. So did the retail piece there in healthcare. And then, very quickly it was, one location, then two, then 10, then 35, moved to 7 states in 13 years. And ended up, it was a lot for my family and everybody, but it was this idea of, I had an intention to move to Colorado, which is where I live now in Denver. And the intention, someone asked me, I think I was 31 years old. I'd just taken over 65 locations in dental for a large dental company. And they said, you're early 30s. What's the point? What are your goals? And out of my mouth, I don't even know that I was that thoughtful about it. I said, well, I want to move to Denver and be a CEO so I can play in the band with my friends. I have friends in a rock band. And I didn't really think much about it. 2 years later, moved to the West Coast, took over 200 locations for another big company. Wow. And then 3 years after that was offered really, an incredible opportunity in Denver as the CEO of a 70 location pediatric dental vision and ortho company. So it combined, the dental experience, the vision experience, and put me in my dream position. And happy to report that I'm now definitely playing in that rock band and doing the things in Denver. So it was a lot about intentionality and focus and really knowing what I was after to push through each stage and move to the next level each time.
You certainly had a lot of goals and goal setting in there for sure, I can tell. But that's amazing. You did it. And you're in a rock band. So congratulations.
It's wild. Yeah, absolutely wild. Bar band, let's be real. But,
a bar band, okay.
Still great fun.
That's awesome. So obviously you would have come into some obstacles along your leadership journey because nothing is a perfect road, right? What is maybe one or two that you had to overcome that may resonate with some of our audience today?
The two, and thinking about this question, the two that hit me the hardest, one is ignorance. I had to overcome ignorance. I had no idea what I didn't know. And I know that sounds so simple, but one part of the journey that I never mentioned was college, because I never went. I went straight into the military and then started literally at the bottom and moved through positionally. So I was mining for nuggets constantly, anywhere I could. So when people would say things to me like, you never know the answer if you don't ask the question, I took them seriously. So I asked all the questions and took notes and found ways through, even before the days of podcasts, through reading books, reading industry publications, magazines. As a vision tech, I'm reading the, dental economics magazine, and people, kind of give me a weird look, and it's fine. But now I understand the scope of the industry.
Exactly.
Even though I have no scope of the practice yet, so it was a lot of overcoming the ignorance, understanding that there is a path to knowledge. You just have to do the work. You 100% have to do the work. And, the benefit for me, my single mom, she went back to school, got her nursing license, took us out of Section 8 housing, went back to school, really put things together for us and built a life. And that work ethic was so just, there is no, like I said, there's no other option. You do the work or else you get what you get. And, that's lost on folks a little bit sometimes. They think that they deserve, or, they're entitled to something. And we were taught very early, if you want something in life, you will work hard for it, because no one here has anything to give you, and the world isn't giving freebies. It's just not the way it works.
So, I agree. I always say, don't wait for the door to open, because it may never open. Open it for yourself. Right. It's about developing yourself and kick that door down and go through it. Yeah. And if it's locked, go to the next one, whatever, right? Find a way. Yeah,
So the first one I would say was ignorance, right? I had to overcome that piece of it. And then the second thing was I developed a reputation early on as someone you could ask a question who would give you an answer. And I always tell folks, you may not always like the answer, but I'm going to give it to you out of respect and, kindness, not niceness. Those are different in my book. But out of being a kind person and respectful, I'll give you the answer that you seek, even if that's above your pay grade sometimes. That'll be the answer. But so as a younger leader, and, I was lucky enough to be in leadership positions very early, 24, 25, I was in my first boardroom level ops meetings. And they asked me a challenging question. What do you think about our general operating strategy to turn around the company? And I said, I think we're going to be bankrupt in, 2 years. And then gave them the reasons why. And one of the VPs at the end of the table, he laughed. Oh, he thought it was so funny. And I didn't really understand why. He's now a great friend. We've been friends, co-CEOs. We've done a bunch of stuff together. But wonderful. But he said, they really, most of the time, don't really want to hear the answer. They just, and I said, well, that doesn't make sense to me, right? After those experiences, I started to believe, and this is where the obstacle came in, that I always had to have a point of view anytime someone asked. And so sometimes I would speak out of that ignorance. And my point of view wasn't always well thought out, and it wasn't always good. And it was better if I just stayed quiet. So as I matured over time, you start to understand that you're only adding value if you've done the work and you have a true point of view. Just throwing more into the ecosphere doesn't do anything. All it does is gum up the ability to make really great decisions. So, I try to teach my teams now all the time, like, hey, it's okay to not have a point of view yet. If it's a big enough issue, you're going to develop one. You have to. Yeah. And I'll wait for that. So those are probably the two biggest things, the ignorance, and then that immature belief that I had to have that point of view. And I would always say it out loud. Sometimes it's better to just keep that to yourself until you've really baked an idea.
We don't always have the right answer, right?
Honestly, it was more about, Tara, about not being thoughtful. It wasn't about right or wrong answers. It was, instincts. Sure, I have instincts, all the things. Yeah. But it was about, I just wasn't thoughtful. Had I been thoughtful and had I taken a moment, I would have realized what I was saying had been done 15 times to failure.
It didn't work.
Right. And I was just throwing more things into the chamber. And that's not really the point. The point is, for me, use the credibility that you build over time, use it to really move the needle. So take that time to be thoughtful and give your right answer. And sometimes the answer is, I'm going to put more time into that. Let me think about that one more. I want to be a deeper thinker before I try to color this conversation. Sometimes you don't have that option, but when you do, take it. You can't be wrong by giving it a minute and letting it simmer.
Or even doing a little research, as you alluded to earlier. Yeah.
I mean, my grandma would always say, tomorrow's stew is going to be much better than tonight's dinner. And it took me a long time to realize what she meant. You simmer all that, you give it a minute, let it all merge. It's amazing what might come out of that pot roast. Amazing. So anyway.
My mom says the same thing.
Yeah, right on. No, my mom tries the same thing. I don't know that I know. Just kidding. She's wonderful.
So I love a topic that you also love, and I use this a lot with my business clients, which is the values and the culture and the mission and the vision. So that is a big part of a business's foundation. And I want to start with values today. Tell us more about why you feel values can create not just something for the business, but something for the culture of the business as well.
Yeah, the biggest piece of that, and again, I do love this topic. It's something that, I spend what some would consider, and it just depends on your worldview and your business view, an outsized amount of time on culture. I think it's an absolutely appropriate amount, and if I could spend more, I would. That's just the truth of it. What I see sometimes is that the educated class, as it were, and not educated necessarily, the way it sounds like you went to university, great, you're educated. The folks who actually have some symptoms of belief that they know more and better, they tend to forget that everyone is looking for purpose. Every single person on the earth is on a journey for purpose. And so they may, or they're so uncomfortable with the idea of purpose that they push it away. But they tend to focus so much on the metrics and the spreadsheet mechanics of a business. And that's 100%. You have to have that skill set. That's not what I'm saying in any way, shape, or form. To be a good businessman, I had to know the numbers. To be a great businessman, I have to know the people. And that's a completely different thing. When you put that aside and you understand every single person is looking for purpose, if you can help them derive some of that purpose through shared values, through a mission that grabs them by the heart and pulls them along, you get so much ancillary, effort and additional push that you don't even have to ask for it. It just happens. Yeah. The attitude shifts. I used to tell my teams when I was a frontline manager in optical, I was the one who sold you your glasses. You came in, Josh the optician showed up and said, hey, and I would have people tell me all the time, like, you're so good with people. Your attitude's so wonderful. And I'm like, well, let me be crystal clear. It's Disney, man. They're here I'm here to make them feel good about something that they have to do. That's my job. That's the way I see it. And because I'm making them feel good, it makes me feel good. So I'm having fun. And they're like, well, it looks like you're having fun. I'm having fun. I'm having a blast. Oh, and by the way, when I sell, we make 30% more than when you sell with that, bad attitude or whatever nonsense, So really trying to help people understand that you can have a 20 to 30% effect on the bottom line of your business just by showing up every day with positivity and with intention and living through these shared values that you build out for your team. And the values, to me, they start with the leader of the business. I mean, I've definitely had situations where I worked for people who would espouse these values and live up to zero of them. And actually sometimes joke about it, like how funny it is that we have, ridiculous. Yeah. Like you are the epitome of failed leadership, right? Who hasn't? And that's really what causes, I think, so much, so much eye rolling and so much consternation. And so many times I've been in meetings with folks and I'm laying this out and they'll tell me, Josh, sounds great. Wow. You're passionate. You mean it. Wow. But tomorrow, right, we're just going to go back to and I'm like, hard time out. You have a life decision to make right now because you're in a place with someone who's coming back tomorrow with the same message, with the same intensity, with the same purpose. And if that's not for you and you can't get on board, you need to, move on. Great person. It's not the terrible fit for what I'm doing. Yeah, terrible fit. Great person. Great. It's not a personal judgment. It's a values judgment. We're just different. So I believe for leaders, and this is how I try to teach, the first thing I want you to do is be very clear about who you are and who you want to be. My 100%. Business partner, Dr. Jack B. Ramian, he calls it your point A, point B. Where are you today? Be clear, be absolutely crystal clear about who you are, because we can build some values around that. And then aspirationally, who do you want to be and who can you strive towards? Who can you put effort and feel good about it, to push that extra when it's hard? Which one of those do you want to add? So once you clarify that, so easy if you have that, voice of amplification where you just go out and you talk and talk and you create these shared connections with people. Yeah. And once, you have trust around values, everything else changes. There's so many teammates and stories, and the person who connected us, literally, we have deep trust and care because we have shared values, and we have since the moment I met her. I was like, oh, Lisa, you're amazing, and I want to part of what you're doing. And she's, so we've always looked out for each other, and we always will, because that value set is there. We can count and trust on each other. So that's the biggest part for me, and the foundation of the culture.
Yeah. I was going to say, I love that you talk about trust, because when we talk about values, if as leaders we don't live them, there's no trust. There's no belief in why business is there. There's no purpose for me to come in every day. But if we trust, and as leaders we constantly talk about what we value as a company and what we want as a culture, those people are going to be, like you said, so happy to come to work. They're going to sell so much better for, eyeglasses, for example. They're going to be happier, and it just makes for better business. So I love that. And thank you for bringing the trust piece up, because it's huge. I can never say it enough. We deal in, and this is just the beauty of where life has taken me and my team. We deal in, we have deals, a lot of business deals, private equity, venture capital, that are $10-100 million deals. And trying to help people understand that the most critical thing you can do throughout the deal process and throughout the business integration is be very clear about your expectations, lay them out crystal clear. Yeah. This is who I am. This is who I am not. This is what I value. This is what I don't. And then be exactly who you say you are. Because at the end of that process, there's still going to be emotional ups and downs. There's going to be chaos. Absolutely. There's going to be feelings and all the things. But if you were clear about your intentions and your expectations, and you were who you said you would be, there's trust. And everything else, the foundation of the next chapter of that business, is all going to start and end there. And when there's not trust, you can't do good business with bad intentions or bad trust. You can't. So you have to separate it. My team is so close. And first and foremost, they coach me a lot. And That's lot awesome. Of it is out of love and compassion. And I have a teammate who recently has said to me, you can't do that thing. We won't discuss the thing, but you can't do that thing. And the reason is, when you do that, it causes like this weird dissonance. And I know your intention is not that, but it does cause this thing. So having said that, we need you to be great, because when you're great, we get to be great, and we're all great together. And I trust you so much. I'm going to tell you this to your face. And then she sat down and she said, I wasn't even nervous to say that to you. And that's good though. Totally cracked me up. I was like, that's the best part about the whole time I'm chastised. I'm absolutely taking my medicine for sure. And then she said that, and I just giggled. I was like, great. And now we're both better. Let's go, let's go crush the day. So that's awesome.
Trust is what it's all about, man.
It is. So, we have our values now with our culture. We have our trust. Sure. What does the vision and the mission have to do with workplace culture, in your opinion?
Yeah. Well, again, it's all part of that, triumvirate you're trying to build. I mean, in the end, if you have no vision, you have no mission. We always think of vision as where you're going, right? And mission is why. Why are you going there? And the vision, if you don't have vision, then we always say it's like the Forrest Gump of business. You're just running and running and running and running and running,
and hoping things go well.
When people are just running through the motions, most people at some point, like Forrest, they just stop. Okay, I'm done with that. I have to make a massive life change. COVID caused so many people to snap out of their, whatever, and I don't want to say zombie-like existence, but, a lot of people were just stuck in the same, the same world where there wasn't really a vision for the future. There was a vision for this week and next month. Yeah. And COVID caused, it was, in that way, it was really helpful for a lot of people to see, like, I just can't do this anymore. Like, okay. And I don't want to be in a place, I would never work in a place anymore, for sure, where that was my life. So vision is where are we going? And, values, again, that's the foundation to know who to bring on the trip with us. Vision is where we're going, and the mission is why. Why are we doing this? What is the point? And I always try to help the folks I'm working with get really clear on exactly why. And sometimes the why is so I can create enough wealth for my family and so that I can retire. Okay, that's great. That's great. And you can share that. That's great.
Yeah.
If you were going to make your mission and your vision some monetary prize, make sure that you're sharing those monetary prizes, or else you're going to have some conflict. But I know a ton of great people, great companies who have said, hey, our mission is to build a $100 million company. And when we do, we'll have 20 million of profits and we can sell it for 200 million, right? For these purposes. And when we do that, here's what's going to happen, right? Here's how everyone benefits. Those companies explode. They have a combined shared vision, a shared mission, a goal they're trying to accomplish. And not only that, they tend to have people that come together around the right things. Now, if it's a purely monetary play, yeah, you're going to have a tougher time with the softer side of purpose. But I do know people who are great at, well, then we'll do community events and we'll have, days where we help veterans or underserved or whatever, so that we can maintain that purpose and use some of that for good as well.
Of course.
I've seen that. But if you have no mission, no vision, it's just to show up tomorrow, then I don't, it's very hard for anyone, I would think, one, to see that as their life's purpose, and two, to be able to, when it's tough, to pull through and to really want to be a part of that, or not take $1 an hour to go next door. Cause I see that all the time too. Yeah. And that's insane. Yeah. Like, ugh. So anyway, and having been a kid who $1 an hour would have changed my life at some point, I definitely get it. But, it's just tough.
And I love that when you talk about, the values and the mission is the words purpose and why. Myself, I always help people understand, why are you there? If the company's values aren't matching yours and you're completely unhappy, what's your purpose? Why are you there? Right. And then realign their own personal values to a company that actually means something to them. So I love that you bring up those are key words when it comes to business growth and having happy employees. Agreed. So you also talk about norms within a culture. Let's talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So the way we define norms, and again, this is, it's interesting to me because we don't hear this a lot. And mission, vision, and values can get so aspirational. It can be such in 10 years, we will, you've heard of the BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal.
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's wonderful. But what about tomorrow? What am I trying to? So, you have these very aspirational things. When we talk about norms, we mean the daily behaviors that you're expected to the way you're expected to treat your team, your people around you, and also what are you expected to do? And so I'll give you an operational norm would be something I would call eat your breakfast. And breakfast is get up and go through your operational reports, look through your practices, look for places where you have an opportunity to do some coaching and development and really help your team get better. That's a norm, an expectation that should happen every single day. And as a CEO running, up to hundreds of companies, I eat my breakfast every single day. That's the way I've been able to build credibility. Again, if we walk into a location and I'm like, hey, you only had 14 new patients, whatever the metric, and they're like, wait, really? I'm like, you should know that way before I should. Let's be clear. Yep. So it does set that tone. The other way we think about norms is and again, this is those two sides of the business I think you have to be great at. The other way is around how you manage people and how you treat people. So I'll give you one we talk about all the time. And this is, it changed the way that we could coach people. We say, assume positive intent all the time. Everything you see around you, assume positive intent. Give you a, for instance, we have two dental assistants. We have, and these aren't real people, but we have Tina and we have Jim. Jim shows up late, 10 minutes every single day. Tina is always running behind. And she finally blows up, goes to the practice manager and says something to the following. Jim's late every day and you don't do anything about it because you don't care. You're fine with the fact that I have to do everything and he's late on purpose, and you guys probably have some relationship outside of work and woo, right?
Yeah.
So the practice manager has the power and ability to first off say, whoa, you've got to take a deep breath, go outside, and come back. Because what you didn't know is that, Jim's mom has leukemia, and we set up through HR an accommodation for him to be 10 minutes late every single day so that he could do this one last thing for his mom. And we've been through those circumstances. What we know is that without information, people spin, and typically we go to the darkest place and we think the craziest thoughts, and the stories are so bad, and you have to practice the assumption of positive intent. So the other one I always say is like, hey, guess what? Every time Josh makes a bad business decision, which happens all the time, it's not because I'm stupid or I'm trying to sabotage my own company or your paycheck. Let's be clear. It's because I made a mistake. I thought that was the best thing for it. But when you even ingest, go behind me or behind your leader and say, they must be blah, 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 you're spreading this negative intent through our culture. And we're doing everything we can to bring positivity and goodness and kindness. Not niceness. You'll hear me say that a million times, but kindness. Nice people don't tell you the truth. Kind people do, right? We're going to bring kindness. Seriously, nice. Where I grew up in the South, nice people would let you walk out of the restroom with toilet paper trailing and say, oh, bless your heart, sweetie. Oh, you're so cute. And then, right? Kind people are like, hey, dummy, horses get out of the barn and get the toilet paper off your pants, right? That's so. I love that. Be kind. Be kind, right?
Be kind, everyone. Be kind.
That's why nice people suck. You see the shirts. Nice people suck. Kind people are awesome. So anyway, you get to this this point where we're just trying to say, assume positive intent. So if you assume positive intent, Tina, what would you think? And she'd say, well, I don't know. Maybe, maybe you guys know about it. Oh, well, yeah, with HR, we can't tell you everything that's going on. And it reframes the thought process, and it's in a second. So we coach straight to it. We say, speak up and give grace. So if you see something, say something. And the give grace goes both ways. If we did something stupid, give me a little bit of grace, and if you speak up and say something stupid, I'm also going to give you a little bit of grace. I'm going to assume positive intent. I'm going to assume that you said it because you want what's best for this patient, this person, this company, me, you, etc. Right? And so those norms, once they are in place and the leadership team, whoever they are, adopt them, agree to them, and then roll them out with the same vigor and the same intentionality that you would mission, vision, and values, you can literally write the day-to-day behavioral playbook, both operationally and think of it as a checklist for how to treat people. I mean, it's so, this is what we're normalizing, this behavior. In a world where we normalize all kinds of crazy behaviors, we're trying to normalize good stuff that can help people in our solid space. Now, there's a benefit. So many people have come up and said, hey, Josh, I teach my kids to assume positive intent. It's different around my house now. Right. It's different at my house now. It's different. Like, it's not like he took my, my kids are starting to exhibit that. And I'm like, amazing.
That's great.
What if we taught people to think positive first? Holy cow, what a world. Yeah. And again, maybe I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. It's just, you have to, in our world, you have to have those norms in place so that the teams can, and we have to be the first. They say it again, they say it to me. None of us are perfect at it. Josh, assume positive intent. What if this person actually wanted to help optimize? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll ask them that. You know what I mean? I'll just ask the question because I'm that dude, it's like, hey, So anyway, that's really how we think of norms, how we look at them, how we use them. And, for the listeners and for everybody, they're your norms. What do you need for your business and your group and your team to normalize the behaviors that you want normalized, and to get rid of the ones you're normalizing now that you don't want normalized? But there are, if you're not intentional, what I've found is that you will normalize some negative things too.
Yes.
And if you don't address that, then as the leader, frankly, you're the problem. I don't have a better way to say that. You are the problem. If you don't have the intentional leadership of your culture, someone else does, and you probably aren't going to be pleased with the outcomes they bring. Now, if you have an intentional culture leader, sure, that's a different thing. But typically someone will hijack your culture if you don't lead it with intent and with, the mission first and the vision focused. You have to do it. So
And that even speaks to lead by example, right? Do it yourself and accept it. As you mentioned, 100%. You accept it when someone tells 100%. You to, right? So yeah, I love that. It's like it creates that beautiful culture at work, right? It just makes everybody happier.
When we were kids, my grandma used to feed us and I really wish I could think of what it's called, but whenever we were sick, just this nasty toxic liquid that she swore would just, and it's sometimes like that because we would always feel better, right? And if we assume positive intent, we know grandma's trying to help us so we can, have more of that biscuits and gravy she's famous for or whatever.
Yeah.
So when you think of it that way and you're around people you trust, and they have shared values, when they're trying to tell you things, it doesn't mean they're right. There's a great quote that says, take feedback and really give it a great look. And I am definitely paraphrasing, but give it a great look and use what's usable and then walk away from the rest. It's not everything
like that.
Going to be perfect for you, but if you don't listen at all, then you're the fool. You're the fool. Yes, you're missing so much. So even if 30% is gold, wow, free gold. Who doesn't want that? So.
You got to take those nuggets, right? So speaking of those nuggets, what's your golden nugget? What's that key takeaway you want our audience to have today?
I would definitely say that if you don't know who you are and as a leader, then you have got to start today, find the time, intentionally sit down and start writing is the way that I like to do it. Just on a piece of paper, lay out your values, lay out who you are, what you want for yourself, how you want to be perceived in the realm of leadership. If you have not done that work, you cannot go wherever you're trying to go. I've never seen a leader lead a strong mission who had no idea who they were.
Yeah.
Once you have that in place, understand exactly who your leadership team are and start to put those puzzle pieces together in the way that each of you can use your unique abilities to build kind of a support team that is, completely defending all your flanks and then be open enough to listen to what they have to say. That's it. You still get to call all the shots. Amazing.
Yeah.
Speak last. Let them tell you everything. Close your mouth, open your ears, listen up. And once you hear what they have to say, you may already know the decision. You may have known it before, but when you respectfully give them that airtime, you're going to learn things about them that is invaluable later. You're going to see the dynamics of the team and know whether or not you have to, manage that culture. And then you're going to get to make the best decision. But every single piece of it starts with you. Every single piece.
Oh, I love that. And that was a great nugget to take away today. So thank you for an awesome conversation, and especially about the basis of business, which is these things, right, for our employees. So if our guests wanted to learn more about you or get a hold of you, can they find you online somewhere?
100%. I'm all over LinkedIn, Joshua Gwinn, Gwinn. And then optimizeps.com. That's Optimize Practice Services. Optimizeps.com is our website. I'd love to hear from any of you guys and anything I can do to help out. I mean, really, we're just trying to spread goodwill, intentional, and do good business with even better people if we can. So that's our hope.
That's awesome. And you gave a lot of tidbits today that are so important. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tara. It was my privilege to be here with you.
A big thank you to our listeners as well. We do hope that you're taking some key points away today to help you grow on your leadership path or in your business. If you are new to leadership or a seasoned leader who knows that this type of support and developing your skills are the way to moving forward on your leadership journey, or perhaps you want to join the leadership community, please visit amplifyingleadership.ca, a Twin Life coaching and business services division. And until next time, please be safe and be an amazing leader or leader to be.